It started as just another morning on live television. The hosts of The View were ready for a polite and balanced discussion about media, privacy, and the royal family. But what followed became one of the most talked about moments of the year. Cameras rolled, the audience clapped, and in walked Prince Harry, the man who has turned the royal world upside down. For a while everything seemed calm. The hosts smiled, Harry spoke about finding peace, and the crowd listened. But that peace did not last long. Across the studio sat Megyn Kelly, a woman known for her sharp tongue and fearless opinions. She had criticized Harry and Meghan for years, calling them out for what she saw as double standards. Many expected sparks. Nobody expected a fire. Before long, that calm discussion turned into a heated debate. Voices rose. The energy shifted. It was no longer just about media or privacy. It became personal. Megyn Kelly's tone grew colder, Harry's expression more defensive, and millions of viewers watching could sense what was coming. Clips of this exchange began spreading across social media within hours. Some people called it a wake-up call for Harry. Others said Meghan went too far. Either way, everyone agreed on one thing. This was not an interview. It was a clash. Before we break down how Megyn Kelly absolutely dismantled Prince Harry live on national television, make sure to subscribe. Because what you are about to see changes everything. Before the camera started rolling that day, the world had already been watching Prince Harry closely. He had just finished another round of interviews promoting his latest project, a documentary about mental health and media pressure. In it, he spoke about how he and Meghan had been treated unfairly by the press and how fame had stolen their privacy. His words stirred another wave of online debate. Some people praised his honesty, but others said he was repeating the same story again and again. Producers at The View saw an opportunity. They invited Harry to join the show for what was supposed to be an open discussion about media responsibility and the cost of fame. It was meant to be calm, balanced, and thoughtful. But one seat on that panel changed everything. That seat belonged to Megyn Kelly. For years, Megyn had been one of Harry and Meghan's loudest critics. On her own show, she accused them of building their entire brand on playing victims while living lives of luxury. She questioned their decision to leave the royal family for privacy and then sign massive deals with Netflix and Spotify. She called them the royal hypocrites of Hollywood, and she was not afraid to say it on national television. So when The View announced that Meghan and Harry would appear together, everyone knew there would be sparks. Social media lit up. Clips from past interviews started trending again. People waited to see if Harry would defend himself or if Meghan would push him too far. The atmosphere was already charged before the first question was even asked. Everyone knew Meghan would not hold back, but no one expected it to go this far. What started as a discussion about public responsibility would soon turn into one of the most uncomfortable moments in live television history. If you think Harry's past interviews were intense, wait until you see how Meghan flips the entire conversation live on national TV. Do not forget to hit subscribe because this gets unbelievable. The segment began like any other. The hosts of The View smiled at the audience as the music faded. Prince Harry sat comfortably in his chair, dressed in a gray suit, calm and collected. The mood was friendly. Everyone expected a light discussion about media ethics, mental health, and privacy. The cameras zoomed in as Harry started speaking about how the press had crossed lines that no one should have to face. He said the media had turned his family into a spectacle and that he and Meghan only wanted the freedom to tell their own story. He spoke about misinformation and how dangerous it can be when false stories spread unchecked. The audience nodded. Some even clapped softly. For a moment, it looked like the conversation would stay civil. Then Megyn Kelly leaned forward. Her smile faded and her tone changed. She interrupted Harry mid-sentence and asked, "So, you are saying you want privacy, but you signed a $100 million deal to tell your private story on Netflix? Which is it?" The room went quiet. Harry paused, clearly surprised. The hosts looked at each other. The audience froze, unsure whether to laugh or hold their breath. Megyn continued, her voice steady but sharp. She said, "You cannot blame the media for doing their job when you are using that same media to promote your brand." Harry's expression tightened. He adjusted his jacket and replied that his projects were about controlling the narrative, not exploiting it. But Megyn did not back down. "Controlling the narrative is still selling it," she said. The crowd let out a collective gasp. Even the host seemed caught off guard. You could feel the temperature in the room drop. The energy shifted from polite conversation to confrontation. The audience cameras caught Harry's forced smile, the slight clench of his jaw, and Meghan's unflinching stare. Harry tried to respond calmly, saying he only wanted fairness. But Megyn cut in again, asking if fairness only applied when the story favored him. Her words hit hard, and the silence that followed was heavier than anything else said that day. In that moment, the atmosphere inside the studio completely changed. What began as a polite discussion had turned into a live clash that no one saw coming. Prince Harry took a deep breath and tried to steady himself. The tension on set was thick. You could see he was struggling to hold back frustration. He leaned forward and spoke slowly, trying to regain control of the moment. He said his goal was not to silence the press but to protect his family from years of unfair attacks. He talked about how constant media attention had destroyed his peace and how he deserved the right to tell his story in his own way. His words sounded sincere, but the crowd could sense he was rattled. His voice grew slightly sharper and his hand gestures became stronger. He said, "I have the right to speak about my own life. I should be allowed to set the record straight without being accused of hypocrisy." Meghan listened quietly, her eyes fixed on him. When he finished, she leaned closer to the table and said in a calm but cutting tone, "Freedom is not about controlling your story, Harry. Freedom is about accepting that not everyone will tell it the way you want. That is not bullying. That is journalism." The studio fell silent again. Joy Behar shifted in her chair. Sunny Hostin looked uncomfortable. The audience stayed still, waiting to see how Harry would react. He tried to smile, but it looked forced. He repeated that he respected the press but wanted fairness. Meghan shook her head slightly and said, "You cannot demand fairness while selling your own version of events to the highest bidder." Harry's expression changed. His polite charm faded. His voice cracked slightly as he defended the projects he and Meghan had done, saying they were meant to inspire others, not profit from pain. But by now, it was clear the tone of the conversation had turned against him. The crowd could feel it. It was a clash between royal privilege and journalistic fire. Meghan stayed composed and confident, while Harry seemed to lose ground with every sentence. The more he tried to explain, the more defensive he sounded. By the time the host moved the discussion to another topic, everyone knew Meghan had taken control of the moment. What started as Harry's attempt to defend himself had ended with him struggling to find the right words. The moment the segment ended, the internet lit up. Within minutes, clips from The View began flooding social media. On X, short videos of Megyn Kelly confronting Prince Harry went viral. Hashtags like Team Meghan and Harry Exposed trended worldwide. Comment sections filled up with thousands of reactions. Some users praised Meghan for saying what others were afraid to say. Others accused her of being too harsh. The divide was instant and explosive. On YouTube, reaction channels uploaded breakdowns of the clash within hours. One titled their video "Megyn Kelly Ends Prince Harry Live on Air," while another called it "The Day the Royals Lost the Room." Reddit threads grew by the minute. Some viewers wrote that Meghan had given Harry a long overdue reality check. Others said the exchange showed how far Harry had fallen from the grace and dignity once tied to the royal name. News outlets quickly joined the frenzy. Headlines from major publications covered every angle. One article read, "Megyn Kelly takes Prince Harry to task on The View," while another called it, "the most awkward royal interview since Meghan's Oprah moment." Morning shows replayed the footage, analyzing every pause and facial expression. Even international media in the UK and Australia picked up the story, calling it the television clash that broke Harry's image of control. For many viewers, this was more than a celebrity argument. It felt like a turning point. Harry, once seen as the brave prince who walked away from royal tradition, now looked defensive and cornered. The sympathy that had once surrounded him seemed to fade. People were tired of hearing about his struggles while he lived a life of luxury in California. As one comment put it, "We supported him when he left the palace, but not when he turned his pain into a brand." Meghan's confidence carried beyond the studio. She reposted a clip of the exchange on her own platform with the caption, "Tough questions are not attacks." It went viral again. Her supporters praised her as fearless, saying she had spoken for millions who were frustrated with Harry's narrative. By the end of the week, the numbers spoke for themselves. The View's clip became one of the most watched moments of the year. Meghan's following grew, while Harry's approval ratings dropped sharply in new polls. For many, this was not just a clash of opinions. It was the moment Prince Harry's era of public sympathy came to an end, and Megyn Kelly's dominance in the conversation had only just begun. When the cameras stopped rolling and the clips started spreading online, something bigger than a studio debate began to unfold. This moment with Megyn Kelly and Prince Harry was not just a fiery exchange on live television. It became a symbol of how far public perception of Harry had changed over time. A few years ago, people saw him as the brave royal who stepped away from the palace for love and freedom. He was admired for breaking tradition, for wanting a simpler life away from the press. But after years of interviews, documentaries, and constant headlines, that sympathy began to fade. Many started to feel that Harry was no longer escaping the media but living through it. This clash on The View highlighted that shift perfectly. When Harry talked about wanting control over his narrative, it felt like another attempt to play the victim card. Megyn Kelly's calm, firm response struck a nerve because she voiced what many people had been thinking for a long time. She reminded him that freedom does not mean immunity from criticism. Her words cut through the noise because they spoke to a much deeper frustration, the sense that Harry and Meghan wanted all the fame without any of the accountability that comes with it. It also reminded audiences of how much had changed since their first big interview with Oprah. Back then, Harry and Meghan were viewed as underdogs. Today, they are seen by many as celebrities chasing attention. The contrast between their early sincerity and their current defensiveness is hard to ignore. This clash with Meghan became the moment that drew a clear line between then and now. People online began analyzing the debate not just as entertainment but as a lesson in public image. They pointed out how media strategy can backfire when authenticity is lost. Harry's attempts to appear relatable felt forced, while Meghan's sharp, composed delivery gave her credibility. She did not just win the argument. She captured the public mood. For many, this moment represented something much larger than a talk show argument. It symbolized the growing disconnect between the modern royal image and real-world expectations. People are tired of privilege being wrapped in victimhood. They want honesty and humility, not constant excuses. In that sense, Megyn Kelly's confrontation with Prince Harry was more than television drama. It was a turning point in how the world views him, and perhaps a reminder that even royals cannot escape the truth when it finally catches up to them. From a polite debate to an explosive confrontation, this moment between Megyn Kelly and Prince Harry will be remembered for a long time. What started as a calm discussion about freedom and privacy turned into one of the most intense live television clashes of the year. Meghan's sharp questions and unshaken confidence left a mark not just on Harry, but on everyone watching. She did not back down, and she forced a conversation that many people had been waiting to hear. The reactions were split just like always. Some saw arrogance in her tone and believed she pushed too hard. Others saw justice, saying someone finally stood up to the endless royal victim story. The debate went beyond the studio. It became a reflection of how differently people now view Harry and Meghan's role in the public eye. So what do you think? Did Harry deserve that kind of public challenge, or did Meghan go too far? The comment section is open and your opinion matters. Share what side you are on, Team Meghan or Team Harry, and tell us why. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We go deeper into royal stories and celebrity moments that others avoid. Every week we bring you the full truth behind the headlines, raw, unfiltered, and real. In the end, this clash was more than entertainment. It was a reminder that in the battle for truth, sometimes the crown does not always win.